How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
And welcome back to Realistic Sustainability. I'm Mike, and I am here with Mr. Rob Bogan.
Hello. Once again, it is I.
I have to emphasize Mr. It has to be strong. It has to match the person you are.
I'm embracing it now. I don't know if you can see, but like the beard by the day is getting more and more gray. So not only will I ask you to call me Mr., but I'm gonna probably have Esquire in there at some point. Or senior.
I am noticing it's almost patchy black now.
Yeah, man. Weird, huh?
I'm not going to say a lot because this here, and by the way, we're modeling our like goatees and beards to each other at the moment. This is still pretty good. A little bit of salt and pepper in the hair, but the beard is basically white.
Yeah, it's out of there. Yep.
Getting ridiculous. But I celebrated our conversation today with the softest t-shirt I've ever owned in my entire life.
Yes, indeed.
The curated culture, the podcast t-shirt.
Yeah, we got official merch. I'm so excited about this.
It's like wearing kittens.
I'm
trying to say it's very soft in the weirdest, most awkward possible way.
Yeah, and you have a kitten story. I don't know if you're going to share it today, but I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Thank you, though. Thank you for that shout out.
Well, first thing before we go to something like that, I want to just tell everybody that when we talk about sustainability projects here in Durand, our next one is moving forward. Yes, we're creeping up on edible landscape time, but that's not what I'm talking about this week. We're actually getting the free community internet set up. The equipment is ordered and is in. I am going to meet with the install team to make sure that the angles are correct for the equipment, and hopefully by the very first concert in the streets here in Durand, there'll be public internet for everybody.
Well, and I absolutely love that. I remember the first time that you talked about it, I was super pumped just because that opens up a lot of avenues, man, for those who, may not be able to afford that internet connectivity, or people who just want to, create content and they can't outside of their homes because, they have one of those really restrictive wireless plans still. Like, that's going to help tremendously for everybody. So kudos to you, man, for rolling that out or being instrumental in that being rolled out.
Oh yeah, it takes a whole team. There's quite a few different people. I'm more the tech nerd side of it than some of the other stuff, but it really is, you sit back and you think about things that get accomplished, and I'm at this point, I'm pretty proud of this one. That one's pretty cool.
It's huge.
It's going to cost like $1,000 a year for our city in this whole section, the downtown business space, to have free Wi-Fi, which is not just for the businesses, not just for the concerts, but vendors and different people that come to town from all of our events, but even just kids. A lot of times they have an unactive cell phone that has 911 capabilities. If they log into that Wi-Fi, now mom can track on Life 360. They can call home. They can call friends. It turns the downtown space into a safer space.
Right. Yeah. Safer, more connected, which, as a fellow tech nerd, I love the fact that there's, more connectivity out there for sure. And as one that can speak specifically from this point, like, content creation is one of those things that is going to continue to explode and is going to continue to grow. And you very well could be, launching the career of several new content creators just from allowing them more and better access to the internet. So again, man, kudos to you. That's huge.
And I believe that everybody knows my belief. I believe internet connectivity, much like water, is a human right. that
Of
there's
course.
so many things you have to do, or electricity in my head also, is something that you can't go without. It should not be segregated for individuals who can pay versus ones who can't.
Right.
You want to pay for something, pay for a better version, but everybody should have access.
100% agree.
Now, your kitten discussion. As people know, oh, geez. As
Oh,
people know,
yeah.
especially if you're following any of the content on YouTube, TikTok, or Facebook, Jamie and I have bought a shockingly expensive $13,000 duplex to renovate in our town. It is bad. It was the local home. I mean, a local home for dozens, apparently, cats.
Uh-huh.
It was. I mean, it's rough. We're gonna go with it's rough.
Yep.
If you've seen the pictures and the videos, I mean, we're pulling 30-gallon trash bags out by the dozens of just
Yeah.
trash. But there was a shocker not that long ago where Jamie was cleaning out one of the drawers
Uh-huh.
and found 5 baby kittens, which is, first of all, weird enough. But
Yeah.
then Jamie takes videos of those baby kittens, knowingly taking videos of those baby kittens because they're in a drawer full of sex toys. Uh, Nothing says Jamie more
No.
than what that whole video moment.
Mm-hmm.
So just so everybody knows, if you have been following those and you didn't see the update, the kittens are fine. I made the rescue because I ended up calling the ex-wife and just yelling help because she owns a pet store. She contacted a rescue who was very mad at us for removing the kittens from the drawer.
Oh,
But
no.
I mean, here's the deal. We blocked off all the outside ways of getting in. Mom can't get in anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But there was some public shaming about how I stole babies away from mothers, and then the nice lady came back and used the babies to trap the mom so they could all be together. They're all at her house. We're getting pictures and videos. They're doing absolutely fantastic because of her.
Mm-hmm.
I won't pretend to know what to do. I mean, my instinct was just fall on the floor and yell help. But that same lady has come back, got another pregnant cat, got 3 or 4 more strays, and they all seem to be docile. They're all domesticated. So what's going to happen is once they're all spayed and neutered and all that kind of fun stuff, they're going to go to the ex-wife's pet store. They're going to live there until people adopt them.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we've started an adoption process in this whole saga of the craziness that is the $13,000 duplex.
You know, you just can't help yourself but to help other people, and now apparently animals is your thing too.
It is not. I didn't do any of it other than panic and call people who knew people. Matter of fact, I would probably be considered rude because she's like, you got to let the cats back in. I'm like, they don't live here anymore.
Yeah, they have to be evicted.
This whole cleaning process, it's counterproductive to let them live here while I'm cleaning.
Right.
So maybe I wasn't the perfect owner of the house, but at least they're all going to get homes. They're all going to go someplace. It's matter of fact, there's these 2 older boy cats that are like buddies. They're always together.
Okay.
They'll be adopted together. They're going to
Nice.
stay together, and they may stay at the pet store for a long time. But either way, it's a good life. It's not on the streets. It's not running around everywhere because it was like a colony of cats living out of that house.
And it's not, stuck in a drawer somewhere.
Yeah. Or breeding and continuously and so on and so forth. So a lot of good came from it. But boy, I'll tell you, it was pretty shocking that day as you're cleaning things. So we were in that room for 3 or 4 hours. Like it was just, what in the heck is going on?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I don't even know what I would have done. I would have been like you initially, like straight panic mode if I find something like that. Like I wouldn't know what to do.
You just kind of wing it. And luckily there's people in our circle who know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was absolutely counseled on what not to do.
Okay. Well,
so
lesson learned for next time, I suppose.
And I know you've seen all the videos. I just got to get you there one day. I know you're probably not feeling it. But it's solid.
What was your first guess that I'm probably not feeling it?
Well, I don't know if you ever heard the story. When I purchased it, we were sitting there signing paperwork, right? And this
Hmm.
gentleman was pacing around, the guy selling it. We were in the same room, which I've never had that before. Usually you're in separate rooms.
Hmm.
And he was very just wanting to get the heck out of there. And he got a very small check, really, for this whole process. And can I leave now? Yes, you're good to go. You go ahead and leave. He gets up, he stops at the doorway, and he exhales and he turns around and looks at me and says, "Thank you very much. Good luck with the house. I'm pretty sure it's haunted." And like almost sprinted out the door. All the ladies working in that room just like froze and
Oh,
turned and looked at me, and I'm like, I don't care. So I'm just getting the paperwork, whatever. I don't. Every building I buy, they say it's haunted, so
yeah.
I'm
I
good.
was about to say that's the second one in a row. So the reason I didn't come out to the first project is because I was pretty sure just by looking at it that it was haunted. But you have confirmation that it is most likely haunted from the previous owner. So yes, I will most likely not visit that property either.
Well, and again, we did find an urn,
Yeah, no, I'm good.
and my daughter brought it home so it wouldn't be alone.
Mm.
So it's in the kitchen, up on the windowsill, because she did not want that person to be alone anymore.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to you guys. You're you're so you're so helpful and you're wonderful in spirit. But that last word is what will keep me away. I am not cool with spirits. So yeah, I mean, keep up the great work though.
I
Keep
think
that.
sometimes you just go, I can't believe we're friends.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we can be friends from a distance, so I'm okay with that.
Oh, anyways, so off of all the side conversations, you got to pick this
Yeah,
today. You got to pick
and
the topic.
that story is actually a great segue because I mean
Is
the
it? Oh, because of the wording. Because of the wording.
yeah,
Uh, it is. It's not used in the same way.
I know.
Okay. So
Damn
not
it, all
horrible.
these notes are gonna go to waste.
Horribly not too long ago, you came to me and said, I want to know more about ghost kitchens. You
Yes.
wanted to know if it's good or if it's bad. And it's kind of I really think it's a product of COVID.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a lot of this prior to COVID where and a ghost kitchen is really just a centralized location that it's a rentable kitchen where a lot of companies, instead of owning their own businesses, work out of that kitchen. A lot of times it's one staff doing it for 8 different companies with different ingredients. That really kicked off when there wasn't a place to go sit down and eat.
Mhm.
Everything was delivery, and people had to figure out how the heck do we still make money? How do we keep our business running? And ghost kitchens became very popular. Like here in Durand, all of a sudden you could get some New York flavor delivered to your home because all it is the ingredients and the way you cook it, and then next thing you know you're getting a smash burger dropped off on your doorstep. So that's what we're going to look at today is your ghost kitchens, and it's not spooky. You don't have to be scared of it. It is just a term. And matter of fact, I think there was other terms that they gave me when I was looking this up that would be they're called virtual kitchens or cloud kitchens also, if
Yeah.
those feel better.
Dark kitchens. Yeah, it's a really interesting premise and my curiosity extended a little bit more beyond what they are and where they came from. But I was really genuinely curious about both the pros and cons because this is realistic sustainability. So the pros and cons of running a ghost kitchen, obviously staffing, resources are reduced specifically,
Mm-hmm.
but there are um oftentimes really negative impacts on sustainability that I hope we get to unpack in this show here.
Now, and we'll start with some of the really obvious positives. You
Mhm.
can run a full blown business with a very small footprint.
Mhm.
You have shared resources, and I mean, this can be from inventories to the stove, the fridge, all those things, that electric bill, all those things that are a general cost for a business is now shared. It becomes very gig economy style.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually a local model, so you have local staff, and you were right when you said shorter amounts of staff. It only takes a handful of people plus a delivery person or two,
Right.
and it does, and it should lead to a lot less food waste
One would
because,
think.
well, yeah, when you're not using it for one, you can use it for another,
Mm-hmm.
and because that's what it is. It's, let's say, and I'm just going to use the fast food model, even though that's not necessarily how it worked. It was primarily restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having your McDonald's, Wendy's, Arby's, KFC all in the same building that you can't walk in and buy anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you went online, you bought it, it shows up like voodoo. Well, it's coming from this kitchen.
Right.
So really it's more like your Applebee's, Chili's, those kinds of places.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mr. Beast. Yeah, great. All of a sudden, you can get a Mr. Beast burger out here when there's not a Mr. Beast restaurant anywhere near us.
Right. Yeah, I discovered that, and the whole curiosity behind ghost kitchens is when the family and I went to Disney last summer. And of
Mhm.
course, we didn't drive and we didn't rent a car, so we didn't want to spend $900 on a turkey leg at Disney. They're not actually that expensive, but food there is nuts. So we kind of kicked it in the hotel after a full day at the park, and we were like, okay, well, what is there to eat? And ironically enough, this is one of those rare situations where getting DoorDash or Grubhub was actually less expensive than physically visiting a restaurant.
Your model's jacked up when Grubhub and DoorDash is cheaper.
Right. We were shocked to see that, but we ended up ordering Mr. Beast burger, and I'm like, I don't remember seeing, because you could order it, and usually if you can order it, there's a restaurant nearby. So I start searching for like a physical location, and I couldn't. I
Mhm.
could only find a website which didn't really give you much more information about it. And then I noticed that it was only, Grubhub exclusive. And I'm like, I've never heard of that. And then I looked into it, and that's the first time literally that I saw the phrase ghost kitchen.
Yeah, I'm not even sure, and I didn't even look, but since we're talking Mr. Beast, I don't think they even have restaurants, do they?
No.
Other than like, do they have one in like LA or something like that, or is it just literally part of the reason why there's a such thing as a ghost kitchen?
Yeah, as far as I know, it is only those ghost kitchens. I do not believe they have a brick and mortar store. But while we're talking, I'm actually going to look it up.
The other thing I've noticed is the way those models are set up is it would also greatly reduce distances for delivery. There's ghost kitchens all over the place. So there's ways to find them so that your companies can register under them. Because right now, I'm in Durand, there's not a
Mhm.
lot in Durand. Let's make sure I say that. We're not talking LA here. If I order DoorDash, this poor person is coming from like a town and a half away to go to another town to buy something to bring it to me in yet another town. These ghost kitchen scenarios are more centralized.
Mhm.
So it makes it easier to distribute with less driving.
Yeah, and so from what I can see, it looks like there is one, and this is a little outdated, so maybe there's more. But there's one physical location in the American Dream Mall in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Well, it must be somewhere out where they live or from or something like that. They built the one and then used ghost kitchens from that
Hmm.
point on.
That's what I'm assuming.
If you can get the same quality, I feel like that's a solid model.
Yeah, and that was one of the thing. I'm not gonna say research, because I literally just Googled for about an hour looking at like specifically what ghost kitchens are. But from what I see, the reason they're so advantageous, especially for smaller brands or startups, is because you can literally, one of the examples was, it could be converted from a vegan sandwich shop into, you know, a wing joint virtually overnight
Hmm.
because of the fact that you're using shared resources. So there's really low risk if you want to kind of experiment with opening a restaurant or starting a food brand. Low risk, high reward, because if it takes off, obviously, you know, you can kind of integrate yourself into more locations across the nation.
Right. Well, and I like the concept of, I mean, granted, some businesses, their concept is the experience of of dining. If you're
Mhm.
going to Black Rock Steakhouse, it's because you cook your own. It's a DIY, or it was a DIY experience with a rock.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
a huge fan, in case you're wondering.
Yeah,
Uh,
me either. Me
so
either.
some of them are experience based, but not very few really are. And less buildings, less electric bills,
Hmm.
less jobs
Hmm.
is something. I mean, maybe it's because I'm from the Flint area. There's a lot of empty buildings. There's a lot of building a building and then abandoning it five
Yeah.
years later.
Yep.
And then there's 15 empty buildings, but they still have to build one that looks like their building. So they just buy an empty lot and build a yet another one. It's just so much waste, so much embodied energy, so much construction cost
Hmm.
when a ghost kitchen allows them to almost be anywhere.
Yeah.
And all they got to buy is their inventory.
Yeah. That's it. And I would like to say that, you know, that alone you would think makes it a boon for being a nice example of running a sustainable business looks like. But there are also a lot of things, and you let me know if I'm overstepping, but there's also a lot of things that, you know, are in my mind at least really big deals that are kind of negative marks in regards to sustainability when it comes to ghost kitchens too.
There is. And in my head, the very first thing I thought of is when you go sit down at a restaurant, you are utilizing your time, you're in public, there's some community to it, but they tend to primarily use items they can wash and reuse.
Correct.
This is 100% of the things that you buy are all in disposable.
Correct.
And even if just so everybody knows, does not matter if they use recycled cardboard. If there's grease in it, it is not going to be
You
recyclable.
can no longer reuse it. That yes, that is the biggest thing that I noticed too. And a lot of times, you know, these places that you know, I like to use the vegan example because a lot of places kind of Trojan horseshoe with the marketing, like, hey, we're vegan, we're all natural, we're sustainable, we're not killing cows, we're not, you know, using meat or anything like that. But you get this vegan meal or this takeout and it comes to you in a plastic bag, and your food is stored in, you know, a 3-layer plastic container, and then you have a plastic fork that's wrapped in plastic to keep it from, you know, getting germy or anything like that. So
Hmm.
you know, it's like at what cost, is this vegan food, you know, really is it worth it? And I don't know if you saw this or not, but another really interesting facet of ghost kitchens in relation to sustainability, I guess, is overall cleanliness, food quality, because you're typically a shared space and it's a universal spot. Um, you don't really know what the hygiene standards are.
Right. Well, any kitchen has to operate within the health code, but what you have is a very large menu
Hmm.
cooked in the same kitchen.
Hmm.
So you have increased chances of food allergy mixes, which can be dangerous. You have, you only have so many deep fryers. You only have so many stoves and different ways to cook things. So if someone has a shellfish allergy and that gets cooked on the same in the same deep fryer or the same stove, you're putting that person at risk.
Yes.
There's a surprisingly lack of transparency with ghost kitchens.
Hmm.
The marketing is you bought it from this company, but are you
Right.
honestly, or are
Right.
they just gig gig industry subcontracting it to someone else and taking money off the top for the name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I couldn't tell if that they're always required to supply their own ingredients. Like, it seems like it's different per kitchen. Like
Mm-hmm.
each kitchen has its own set of rules, which means is so and so buying the hamburger, but it's going out for 4 different places? Is the kitchen buying it and then charging those sites by taking the bulk of the amount and sending the rest to the corporations? Is It's not that easy to decipher. There is no set of rules except
Mm-hmm.
for some of the larger ghost kitchens that own a bunch throughout the nation. And I find that a little scary because if
Yeah.
there isn't transparency, it doesn't usually get better.
Right.
The quality isn't usually the same. Remember, companies, when they're looking to make money, they have to go through infinite growth, which usually means a decrease in quality.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that, I mean, you just said it. That's the one of the scariest aspects of this, because we also know that when there is not transparency, when people aren't forced to, specifically talk about the methods, the things that they're doing, the cleanliness, the habits, the hygiene, they will cut corners.
No. If someone's not watching and it can save $1, you're going to get a foodborne illness. It's just
Right.
that's why we have health codes and so many people out there that go inspect. I mean, that vendor on the side of the road, you has to have that clipboard with that piece of paper on it so we know they wash their hands, or even have the water there to wash their hands.
Hmm.
That in itself is a little freaky,
Yeah.
just because do you know you're getting the same quality, and do you know you're getting a safe version of it? It's
Right.
still in question at times.
Right. Yeah. Because you don't want to, be, thinking you're paying $5 for this bottle of water from this specific brand, and it ends up just being sink water reused
Which is what
all
we
over again.
the store anyways. So it is 80% of all the water that people buy came out of a faucet in a town.
I don't know, man. Some of it is it's just tasty. It's delicious.
It's a placebo effect, because if you look at the label, it'll say bottled in Jackson, Michigan.
Gross.
So make sure you read the label, because they will tell you came from public water source.
Oh my gosh. Not bottled at the bottom of a volcano. You
No, no, I don't buy that. That's too expensive, and I don't spend that kind of money on something that comes out of a faucet. But if you look at most of the brands,
Mm-hmm.
especially your store brands,
Mm-hmm.
it will say, because they have to tell you where it came from.
There's that transparency.
And it will, well, it's a regulation. They wouldn't do it if they weren't forced to. But they don't have to say where. They will say from a public water source, and that is city water.
Gotcha. Man,
So
just
yeah,
dashing my dreams.
they're paying pennies on the dollar to put it in a bottle and charge you dollars on the dollar.
This is upsetting. This is I do switching gears just a little bit
Mhm.
though, because I know you talk a lot about this because it is also important. And I could be off base, but embodied energy, right? Like how much energy things use. So we know that there's a lot of plasticware, there's a lot of plastic forks. We know that the containers that this food is being shipped in is not recyclable. So that all counts, right?
Mhm.
What about majority of these restaurants aren't particularly accessible to just walk in and pick up your food? And as we discussed earlier, the rise of DoorDash and Grubhub and things like that, especially in these larger cities. What about the embodied energy of the driver themselves, the vehicle or type of transportation that they use, the trips that they're taking? I mean, that has to be like gargantuanly disastrous when we think of sustainability, at least.
It is a delivery-based job. Okay, so it is solely dependent upon delivery, which means there has to be transportation. Now, different in New York City, LA, Seattle, Miami than it is in Durand.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in those major cities, you're going to see a lot more e-bikes, a lot more pedal bike. You're going to see scooters. People deliver in the quickest, most efficient way because it's cost effective to do so. You're not in New York City, you're not driving a car. And if anybody tells me I'm wrong, show me. But the traffic, the parking, all that is very challenging in large cities. So they tend to do it, and things are packed in very close.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I hear being in the Midwest all the time from people who've traveled from large cities in is how do you get places? We don't have the same mass transit the rest of these big cities have.
Right.
So they can actually deliver in a plethora of ways that isn't a car.
Mm-hmm.
That is not bad because you're probably going to the same apartment building 6 times in one day,
Right.
which is repetitive and multiple trips. And if you're in a car, horrible. But in major cities, not so big of a deal. People are on bikes quite often, e-bikes, scooters, those
Mm.
smaller devices. But in
Okay.
the rural areas, and even in a lot of your cities in the Midwest, Detroit's a real city. You have some ways to get around and be able to go places without a car. But Flint,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are going to use a car. The city itself is really actually small
Mm-hmm.
and the housing is on the outskirts, so you're going to be using cars most of the
Right.
time. Uh, I know Ann Arbor is a little more packed. It depends on where you're at, but if you're in a place where it's always a car, that can be devastating when it comes to the sustainability side because you're so busy. I bet they don't even shut the car off. It just sits there running. They grab the next one, they take off. I've watched people with DoorDash just drive up, leave the car on, run in, check the ticket, run out because
Right.
the more they can do, the more money they make. So they're moving. They're going as quick as they can.
Mm-hmm.
That on a sustainability side is tragic.
Right.
I think there's a lot of drive duplication when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to delivery systems. Same thing with Amazon, the same thing with all of this convenience era
Mm-hmm.
of consumerism. Is this I want it as quickly as possible. I'm willing to pay more for it. We pay in more than one way.
Hmm. I gotcha. Now, do you, and I think I already know the answer to this, but I'll ask anyway. Do you ever see a point where restaurants themselves could be as, we'll do air quotes, as sustainability friendly as ghost kitchens? Like despite the fact that we just talked about how they could impact them, just the sheer volume and resources that these kitchens have access to, I would imagine pale in comparison to a traditional brick and mortar restaurant. So restaurants generally are always going to be worse on the sustainability scale, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you ever think that restaurants would be able to take from ghost kitchens in terms of scaling back, or is this always going to be kind of the norm?
think
Resources are going to get used no matter what.
I think some fast food places have accidentally tried
Hmm.
the Taco Bell slash KFC buildings where they're sharing the resources, reducing the cost, those kinds of products. Now, in my personal experience, the product has been different
Yeah,
in some of those, and some of the experiences have been subpar. But I think that was an attempt to figure out how do we reduce our operating costs with our partnerships of that company's owns both of them. They put them together.
sure.
KFC and A&W, you saw those for a while.
Hmm.
So that is the attempt to do something without even thinking about it. By the way, there was no concept of ghost kitchens when those came around,
Hmm.
but that was the first attempt of doing so. And I don't think it was great because they didn't deliver. It was just you could go through one drive-through and order two different kinds of food. But a restaurant, I think there will come a time where restaurants are for experience and delivery is for convenience. So if your restaurant is not special by experience wise, then you will become a logo cooked from a ghost kitchen much
Hmm.
quicker as society's morphing and changing, right? Because things are changing. You're seeing brick and mortars closing on a regular basis because online delivery is quick and efficient and inexpensive.
Hmm.
Not just Amazon, but Walmart and others are doing it now. Meyer for this region here for groceries. there's there's it there's a convenience market out there,
Yeah.
and it's going to take away from brick and mortars. And I don't know in the long term. I think that's better in the long term
Mm-hmm.
because there's there's less buildings, there's less electricity, there's less of all the things it takes to run that building. Now, on the flip side, less jobs.
Mm-hmm.
That will always be the first thing someone says to me about me saying it's a good idea to have less buildings. And that is true. There will be less jobs. But all things aside, I do believe that we're probably not that far down the road. Jobs are not going to be a human thing on a regular basis. Most of the stuff can be done by robot.
Right.
We just got to decouple that from our self-worth and we'll be good. But do I think restaurants will ever be as efficient? No.
Mm.
No, because you can't. Right now, you can order 3 or 4 things from the same place, and it all shows up in the same bag.
Right. Yeah.
They can't do that unless they start creating partnerships.
And collaborations for sure.
What I would like to see more is local sourcing. Now, I
Okay.
understand with brands, things have to be identical.
Mm-hmm.
That when you eat a taco from Taco Bell, it should taste the same in LA, New York, or in Durand.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand there's some issues there, but more locally sourced meats and vegetables and cheeses would really help that embodied energy problem. It would, if all of the meats could be the same and just seasoned differently, that would help a lot with a lot of the embodied energy. Because right now, if they're paying for their inventory, it's coming from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the hamburgers are coming from Australia if it's McDonald's. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's just you couldn't pick a further place to get your meats. And that with the embodied energy, that's why I always keep talking about wanting to have the embodied energy number, like a calorie number, put on
Mm-hmm.
our packages. We'll make better decisions if we do that. And it will force companies to find resources more local to where they're distributed. That would be a big deal if we could get that pulled off.
Yeah, and I think that is I honestly I think it's something that we'll see in the near future. And you just touched on something that I want to ask you about too, because it kind of relates to sustainability, maybe not. Do you think that ghost kitchens are better equipped or ill equipped to deal with the crunch that tariffs will create on these industries? Because restaurants as a whole do a lot of importing, like you said, getting beef from Australia and potatoes from wherever else, and rice from and grains from other countries. Do you think ghost kitchens are better equipped to deal with that because of their versatility, or do you think they could potentially be impacted even more harshly than restaurants?
I think there's no transparency to really know that answer, but they
Mm.
should be more resilient, but I don't think they are. When large brands want to sell somewhere, they take it from their current supplier and ship it over there. So it doesn't matter if it's in their own building or a ghost kitchen, they're still getting it from their supplier, whoever that supplier is. Now, if they were functioning from a local network with maybe a little disclaimer that says food is sourced locally and experiences may vary or whatever they want to put in there,
Mm-hmm.
then that would change. If it was here locally and you could get it from the local meat market over here or the local butcher, and they were picking their greens from the Edible Landscape Project and getting vegetables from Horrocks and Lansing and doing those kinds of things, that would change their footprint. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't think the model is set for that. I think they're just receiving Mr. Beast frozen Mr. Beast burgers from whatever warehouse they get them from in
Okay,
general.
I got
So I
you.
think they're going to take the same hit.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. That makes sense. I love the idea of as an entrepreneur myself, I love the idea of these ghost kitchens being able to give people who wouldn't otherwise have the shot to live the dream of being a restaurateur. They give people that chance, but I am not 100% sold on the viability and the reliability of ghost kitchens as like a long-term sort of thing.
I'm not sure they're necessarily equipped for the long term. because if you can cook all the same foods in the same place for the same people, it's not a different experience. So if you're
Correct.
getting all these foods from all over the place, you've got an extra inventory, you got to cook this one for this order, this one for that order. What if how they cook it on what kind of grill or what kind of deep fryer or what kind of that can vary.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you there's certain restaurants that can't use ghost kitchens because they don't have the right equipment. They are not a universally designed kitchen for every possible thing, and you're still cooking two completely different things next to each other.
Exactly.
And in busy kitchens, flavors are going to mix. There's going to be, and I'm sure they're doing it at the lowest possible rate for people, so things can get sloppy, is my
Mm-hmm.
guess. I think it works for kind of like DoorDash. It works for the convenience,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think you're going to get a superior product when you're secretly getting what you want from the same guy who cooks 15 different kinds of meals that day. Where the flat stove has a sweet and sour Chinese dinner over here warming up while you're cooking a steak on the other side, kind of thing. So I don't, maybe I'm missing it. Maybe I don't fully understand it, but I don't see that being a long term recipe for the unique. I see it being the cookie cutter, everybody can punch out a burger kind of spot. But to get unique things, I think you have to go to unique circumstances and go to the restaurant.
Gotcha. Good
So,
answer.
you know, some of the final thoughts I think are those kitchens aren't awesome for sustainability and they're not an absolute failure.
Mm-hmm.
They do consolidate quite a bit. They reduce infrastructure. There is an energy footprint reduction because of all the shared resources. But everything comes in plastic. Everything, it doesn't matter if you get recyclable material or not. The hamburger grease makes it so that it's not. It doesn't matter what the logo says on the side. It is a convenience item, which most of the time convenience items aren't that great.
Yeah.
It was fun to look up. It was fun to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think it's probably a fad? Likely. Because
Okay.
there's always been rentable kitchens.
Right.
Caterers use them.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a fancier version of that with delivery drivers.
Got it.
So, will it stay this way? I don't know. I don't believe there's a long-term use for that, especially as robotics becomes more and more popular. There's other ways to do things, and you can't brand something you can't see.
Yeah. This much is true.
So that's what when I go through the whole concept. It's probably great for some entrepreneurs to be able to do something a little special,
Yeah.
or try their brand and their way of doing something in a market that they could never get to. Kudos, man, go for it. I hope the best, but I think it's temporary.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like I said earlier, it's one of those things where it can it presents as being almost a little too volatile, so to speak, like being able to go from, a wing joint to a vegan restaurant to a, Thai food spot and then a traditional burger joint, back to back to back to back to back. It doesn't, you're right, it doesn't really lend to the longevity aspect of things.
and you're probably not getting Thai out of the same building. You're probably not getting Greek out of the same building. They probably want to control their food.
Right.
You're getting national brand chains, cookie cutter stuff, all from the same kitchen. I have a hard time finding it as gourmet or special.
Yeah, the Americanized international foods.
Which, as I travel more, I learned that I kind of need some like that. I mean, when I go to LA,
Mhm.
unfortunately for me, I can't go to an authentic taco place.
Mm.
They're going to burn a hole right through my stomach, and I
Yeah.
will not be able to survive. And they're going, but that was the mild. That was the extra mild. I'm like, I need white dude
Yeah,
mild. I
right.
don't know. I love you guys. Thank you so much. This is delicious. And as soon as I want to stop dying, I'm going to remember that flavor.
Yeah.
I have to be very careful sometimes where I go, but I don't know. I want to taste the good foods. I want to go to the experiences. I want to see the places. So I want to, in a sense, have the convenience with conscience.
Yeah.
And I want to have the innovation with integrity. I just kind of I want to find that balance and sustainability and deliciousness.
I love it. Also, dude, white guy mild sounds like an excellent idea for a t-shirt.
Dude, I could probably create a hot sauce with ketchup and put that on it. Like I want so desperately to be able to experience certain flavors.
Yeah.
But if I smell it, I start to sweat. Like I can't do it. I watched you do those like was it the hot wing
Oh
flavoring?
yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just envious. Like I know that's gotta be like special.
Yeah.
But all I'm gonna get is like I'll drink toilet water to get this stuff out of my mouth. Like I gotta get the burning away. I gotta have like a little lemon juice or some milk or whatever it is, because
Yeah.
I'm just not capable.
Ice cream helps.
Oh, so now everybody's got a little insight to how big of a wimp I am with food. But and I will say, Jamie has done wonders getting me to try new things and go new places and eat regional foods to get away from our ghost kitchens, because I don't think that's what those are. Uh, and I do enjoy it. I do. Hot and spicy. I like flavorful.
Mm-hmm.
Spicy hurts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on the subject of ghost kitchens, it's definitely an accurate description of the properties that you purchase for sure. Those
I don't think there's ghosts. I think it's just unlevel. You got a house where the floors are not quite straight, doors shut, all
yeah.
on their own. It's just how it works. But I don't know what it is about when we buy a house. Everybody thinks it's haunted. It must. I think it's an indictment on the quality of homes that we're purchasing.
that might be it.
Because the whole goal is to enrich the community, right?
Mhm.
So we fix that house, the whole neighborhood gets better. We take the one where all the cats live and turn it into a real home. You've done something for the community, you've done something for your own investments. You work for it, but you're doing something very sustainable and long term for the community. I just don't know why they think everything I buy has a dead, a dead entity running around yelling at people.
It's possible. That's all I'm going to say.
Just trying to scare me, or I'll get you into one of these. We're going to make it look pretty, and then you're going to do a tour. But I
Yeah.
think one of these days you should do a walkthrough on day one
Mm-hmm.
on one of these places.
Like the very first day that you
Oh yeah,
purchase it.
you saw the video of the very first walkthrough. You should have been there for that.
Yeah, I feel like I shouldn't have.
Anyways, so we went through ghost kitchens. Hopefully, everybody got to learn a little bit about them. We did going through it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just like sustainability, it's all perception, or it's all by how you look at it. I don't believe that they're wildly sustainable. I do think they're gig economy sustainable, where they reduce a lot of the total embodied energy with avoiding buildings and stuff. So hopefully you all enjoyed that. And this is the part where I'm always like, Mr. Bogan, you got to tell people where to find you, because I'm sure some people like just see that you're on the show, so they just listen to those ones.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I would love to think that there's just a little pocket of realistic sustainability fans there that are like, oh, Rob's on this one. I gotta listen. So I am a relatively easily findable person. You can search Robbie Diesel on the social media site of your choosing, and there's usually always going to be a picture of my beautiful brown face that will pop up, and that is me with the mostly gray, partially black beard now. You can follow me Facebook. I'm not as active on X at all.
I canceled mine.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on the TikToks, Threads, BlueSky, and YouTube. I just crossed a milestone on YouTube. I am officially at 829 subs over there. We're marching towards 1,000. I would like to get to 1,000 before my birthday, which is in August. So YouTube.com/Robbie Diesel. You can check out thecuratedculture.com. You can search The Curated Culture on your podcast app of choosing. I also have a show that Mike is going to be a guest on very soon, and we will not talk about sustainability, and I'm going to get him to cuss. So make sure you look out for that one. And that's it. That's everything.
Man, you got a lot. I just started using YouTube because I've been told that I'm like an old guy who, because I avoided YouTube, it makes me extra old in some way. So I want to just tell you, we have a shocking amount of followers. It is 23.
Yeah, hey man, you got to start somewhere. And I'm going to come to your defense. I am not going to say you're an old guy because you're just starting using YouTube, because you're on TikTok, which is what the young people use. So, yeah.
Okay, well then I'm just a conundrum, and we'll go from there.
There we
But
go.
yes, if anybody, again, you're more than welcome to follow my Facebook. That's where a lot of things get uploaded. TikTok obviously is another one. As long as it's still running, you never really know by the week. And YouTube, BlueSky, all of those are in the description below. We always love to have feedback as we're doing ridiculous things, finding kittens and tearing apart what I believe is one of the worst houses I've ever bought in my life. I mean, just recently, everybody laughed at me because I had to clear a toilet that had been used for 3 months without water.
Oof.
There's videos, not of what's in it. We did a very good job making sure that's not there, but the rest is there. It was unpleasant, and I did wear a respirator. Anyways, thank you all so much for listening. Listening to Rob and I have a good time laughing, joking, and talking about topics that we adore or want to learn about. We appreciate you stopping in each and every time. And remember, we're just trying to get a little bit better each week. Little bit, big bit. Thanks again. I'm Mike.
And I am Rob.
And we will see you soon.